Hello and welcome back to Fallon Moran Radio. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the name of the game, what it actually is, and how you can choose to either play or find a new way to play. So, what am I even talking about? Let's dive in. What am I even talking about? Let's actually do this right now because it is impressive to me that nobody else sees this and it's actually staring us plain outright in the face. Now, I saw a post on Instagram last night and it just broke my mind because it was insanely accurate. So I'm actually going to go to it right now. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to bring my phone up at the bottom of the video so that you can see that I'm pulling it up right now. And it was actually from someone who I worked with in the past. And sorry, it's like making noise. And so it's from someone who I worked with in the past, and she's out in Colorado. And she actually met with me in a Dunkin' Donuts in Lincoln Park a couple years ago. Now, she posted about comparing dick sizes, and I was like, ooh, this is spicy. Let's read on, right? And she's talking about how she's seeing this more and more online that people are claiming I made $1 kajillion. Obviously, that is expression because people always claim like I made so much money, right? So I should automatically have your trust and you should pay me tons of money. She said, oh, your coach hasn't made that much money. She's not embodied and not as good of a business coach as I am, blah, blah, blah. The boring subtext of equating money with skill and confusing revenue for depth. And if I'm being so blatantly honest, it feels like one big dick sizing contest that deeply waters down the work, the medicine, and the community of our industry. Who can have the biggest month? Was it cash? Always looking for a way to put down other women to pedestal themselves. I don't believe that. And I was like, okay, we are like super spice machine here. So she talks about something else. And then I think it was a couple slides later where she says, money is impressive, yes. But if there isn't substance, if there isn't depth, if there isn't strategy that feels relevant to where you are, it means nothing. And lately, I have felt the pressure of $500,000 isn't enough. I have to do more. I have to be more. And that was when it hit me. And not just because it's highlighted in orange, because obviously she wants to make a point with that sentence particularly. However, it hit me because everywhere you go online, it is talking about, oh, I made $100,000 a month, or, oh, I had a client pay $77,000 in full, or, whatever the case may be about money. It doesn't even come up just online. It comes up everywhere in every conversation. And the only places where it doesn't come up, if you're listening to the podcast episodes, to the videos, to the interviews of people who have $12 billion per year companies. Okay. Yeah, they mention it once, but their entire podcast, their entire interview is not about money or how much money they've made or how much money they've put to this or how much money they've done with that. Nothing to do with the number. They could care less about the number. They want to talk about the substance. They want to talk about, back when they were young, they had this one experience and it allowed for them to be like, this is what I want to focus on. And back when they were first starting out, they wanted to be the best of the best. Think of I know, people have said this, and this might not necessarily equate to my particular audience, but it's completely relevant because Kobe Bryant, even though he's a basketball player, again, basketball player is probably not relevant to my audience. However, I'm going to use it as an example because it is a very good example. When you have a basketball player, when you have any kind of athlete that is looking to just run laps and be the best of the best at what they do, they could care less about the dollar. They could care less about what they're going to get out of it. All they're looking to do is to go after what they have as a vision in their mind. And for athletes in particular, it's become the best in the game, right? The best at basketball, the best at volleyball, the best at whatever, track, crew, gymnastics, swimming, speed skating, doesn't matter. They want to be the best. Nothing else matters. They just want to be the best, right? Michael Phelps, another really good example. He wants to be the most decorated Olympian. Nothing else matters. It doesn't matter how many brand deals he gets. It doesn't matter how many people endorse him. All that matters is that he continues to go after another gold medal. Now, let's back this up a little bit, going back to that original first thing that I brought up. The name of the game. What is the name of the game? The name of the game is the rat race. And it is the biggest drug that people put you on in the world. What am I talking about? Well, if you ever have the time to scroll through some movies, if you're bored and you want to find a good movie to watch, there's this movie. I forget the guy's name. I'm going to have to go through Toy Story, and he's the T-Rex voice for the Toy Story. And he's in an original, like a very, very old movie. And I want to say it's like Dinner with Andre or something like that. I have to check because that's what it is. My Dinner with Andre. That is the movie where this guy who voices the T-Rex, he goes to have dinner with this guy, Andre. This guy, Andre, is like, when you first watch this movie, it's like, he seems like he's whacked. Like, he seems like he's crazy. However, he talks about how he went to Europe and he was traveling the world. And at one point, somebody asked him where he was from. And he said, "Oh, I'm from New York." And he's like, "Oh, that's very interesting." And he was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he says, "Oh, well, the people in New York, they build their prison and then they're prisoners of their own prison. And that's the name of the game. That's the rat race. And everybody's in it. And everybody's in it in 1980 when this film was, 1981, when this film was done. It was originally like, that is the name of America. That is the game of America. It's the rat race, because not only are you seeing it in terms of films or even in terms of how you go about life, I'm sure things were probably more pressured back in the day, although I can't say with complete certainty because I wasn't alive in the 80s. However, what I can say is that the rat race has probably always existed in some way, shape, or form. And now the rat race has come to the online space. And people who are good at what they do are sitting there questioning themselves because they haven't made $1.2 million in profit, or they're not, valuated as a net worth of $250 million. Here's the thing. The money doesn't matter. Okay? It's the biggest drug that people have you on, because when you are in it for the money, and trust me, I can see this because I've been living it, and I finally had yesterday, my brain cracked wide open when I read this post. They give you money and you have to create the prison, right? So let's just say we're talking about in terms of a rat or in terms of like an experiment on a mouse, right? You have a maze, a labyrinth, if you will. And there is eventually a point where you can get out. However, you have constantly been going in and out of this maze, going through the same walls over and over and over again, but you can't find the way out because what you're focused on is the cheese, right? The cheese is what keeps you alive. You need to eat the cheese in order for you to have the energy to continue going through the maze. So you constantly need the cheese. The same thing with money. There is a way out, right? But you need money to pay for your bills, to pay for your house, to pay for this, to pay for the food, to pay for the whatever, the internet, the Wi-Fi, the podcast hosting. It doesn't really matter. But the way out is just finding the way out, becoming dedicated to finding the actual path that is going to get you out of the maze, to being dedicated to being the best version that you can be. That is it. And the money is a drug. Now, you could look at it as money is a drug, or you can also look at it as money is a byproduct, right? Because now, think about it this way. You're in the maze. You have the way out. You have the cheese to keep you alive, right? You keep going for the cheese because you're like, okay, well, I need to keep eating something until I find my way out. But once you have found your way out of the maze, you are no longer refined. You're no longer constricted in the maze. You can have whatever cheese you want once you get out of the maze. Now you're not confined to just cheddar. You can have Swiss. You can have Gruyere. You can have provolone. You can have Romano, because now you're not in one spot anymore. You have the whole world at your disposal because you are out of the maze. You are out of your own prison. Okay? You have so many different resources available to you. Money becomes a byproduct. Cheese becomes a byproduct of you being dedicated to being the best version that you could be, to finding the one route to get you out of the maze. Okay? It seems like it makes no sense at all. Trust me, it makes complete sense in my brain, because it truly is the thing that's keeping you stuck in the maze. Because you think about, oh, well, I need the cheese because I need to have energy to find the way out. However, if you take a time lapse and you continue to just focus on the one thing, it will happen faster focusing on the way out versus, okay, I need to go back and get more cheese. Because every time you need to go back and get more cheese, it's time wasted because you're going in a different direction than the way out. Okay, I had to share this one because that is the name of the game. And that is completely how it works in America. When you think about it, the name of the game is the money, is the rat race. How much more can I get? How much more can I be? How much more money? How much more stuff? And none of that matters. And if anything, you can see that none of it matters by what's going on in the world right now. Let's just look at Canada. Canada was one of our biggest allies. They were taking everything we said as gold for however long. Canada's at our northern border. I love our Canadian friends. I really do. One of my biggest listeners is in Kitchener, Ontario. I love her to death. Here's what Canada did after the World Summit in Davos. Canada went to China to strike a deal with China because of the United States tariffs. If that is not partnering with our biggest, probably, I don't want to use the word enemy per se, but we definitely have a thing against China, right? The United States has a thing against China. And now the people at our northern border are working with China because we're so consumed to make more money because we don't want China to take control. The thing is, now China has a way in to our northern border. Not saying that they're going to come in through our northern border. That's not what I mean. However, what I mean is America has completely fucked themselves because instead of working together with everyone, instead of focusing on people and making an impact, they're focused on the fucking dollar. And if they were not so focused on the fucking dollar, what they would realize is they actually have so much more power to impact people and to help people. And they could impact and help our northern border. And they could actually create change with the people who are so great to our north. They're so nice. They're so fucking nice. Like, why are we, in God's name, why are we so focused on raising tariffs and including more tariffs and bumping up prices on things? Because all they fucking care about at the end of the day is the goddamn cheese because they're stuck in a maze and they don't see the way out of the maze because they're not taking the time to get out of the fucking maze. Just get out of the fucking maze. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people around you. And then you'll have provolone. You'll have Romano. You'll have whatever other cheeses exist in the world. Brie. You know? I digress. I'm getting a little worked up about this, but you understand my point. You understand where I'm coming from. Now, there's another episode that I'm going to be recording in the final 6 minutes of my time here. I would encourage you to definitely subscribe, to definitely follow along, because this next episode has to do with Substack. And if you're not on Substack, then you probably will want to go check it out. However, this episode that I'm going to be releasing about Substack is going to be talking about all of the hype around Substack. Okay. So be sure to follow, be sure to stay tuned because that is going to be a very relevant episode. I am so grateful for you listening in. I would love to hear what you want to say about these episodes. If you have a review, please leave your review. Please leave your rating and review. I'm going to be doing these spotlight episodes once a week. I have yet to see any new reviews. I also have not recently been on Apple Podcasts. So I'm sure if I actually got onto Apple Podcasts and I took a look and I checked out whether or not I got a review on my podcast, then I would be able to let you know a new review. We're still at 2 ratings. I am encouraging you to go leave a rating and review, and I would love to see that 2 go up to 3 or maybe even 4, especially if you're a regular listener. So I encourage you to leave a rating and review because that is also how the podcast grows. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time. If you are on YouTube, I would love to see your comments. This is being recorded in Riverside, so I put the videos up onto YouTube so that it has a YouTube podcast. It's like a video podcast. You can see all of the different landscapes that exist within my house. So currently, we have some packing going on, so you could see all of the boxes in the background. That being said, if you enjoyed this episode, I would love if you could leave a comment and actually answer the question, what you see as the cheese in your scenario, or what you see even as the way out of the rat race in your scenario. So I would love to see those comments come through on there. And if you are watching this on YouTube and you're new to my channel, be sure you subscribe. Okay. Thank you so much for your time and for your most valuable asset, which is your attention. And I will talk to you very soon. Okay. Thanks. Love you. Bye.